Hey there, Paula Rizzo here with Ilise Benun, a good friend and the marketing mentor. I have known Ilise for a very long time and I followed her stuff, and we actually have just spoken together at How Design Live not that long ago. And Ilise, you told a story that I had never heard before from your former life as a professional organizer. And I was like, we have to talk about this. So walk me through, how you're helping people now, and then we'll talk about that little tidbit how you got PR that lasted for years and years and years.
Exactly. So I teach creative people and solopreneurs how to market their services, basically. And it all happened because I started as a professional organizer when I was fired from my second job out of college. That's how I like to say it. And that is actually what happened. Although I got myself fired, I did bad things, and that's
Oh
what happened.
no!
Yeah.
I don't
That's the
believe
part
it
I
at
usually
all.
leave out. Yeah.
Really? I was gonna say, wow, because you hated it, or what was the deal?
It was a political situation,
Ah.
and I'm just totally unemployable. And so I just, it was just a matter of time. And at that point, I was 27 years old. And so I looked around, and all my friends in New York were artists and actors and musicians, and they were totally disorganized. And I was a little bit more organized. So I started telling people I was a professional organizer, which I thought, of course, I had made up myself. And then someone said, "Oh, you should know about the National Association of Professional Organizers." And I know you've spoken to them.
I have. It's a
And
real thing. Yes.
it is a real thing. And at that point, it was a national association, but the New York chapter was just getting started. So I went to some of the meetings and I got very involved. And at one of the meetings, there was a woman there who was kind of thinking about becoming an organizer, but she was also a reporter for New York Magazine. And I had no idea what a reporter was, and I barely knew what New York Magazine was, but she was asking all of us what we did and how we were different from each other. So I explained to her that I worked with artists and I helped them with their marketing, because that's what I noticed working with creative people. At the bottom of all of their piles, it was so amazingly consistent. There was always something that had to do with marketing and self-promotion that was not getting done. And
Interesting. So as you're going through their stuff as a professional
yes,
organizer, you're like, this is some marketing gold that you should be
here's a message, one of those pink messages from someone who had called asking for examples of the paintings, and they had never received them. Nothing had ever happened. Or, an art fair that they could have participated in, but now it was already long gone. Like, this happened every single time.
That's so interesting. How telling. It was really pushing you. The universe wanted you to do some marketing. So this
Exactly.
woman who was also a writer for New York Magazine says, "Hey, I'm working on an article," or how did this happen? And this was way back. This was 1988, right?
88, yes.
Yes.
I was fired in
So
88, and so it was
how did
April
this
of
happen?
88. And I didn't realize she was just interviewing people, so I was answering questions. I didn't really focus on what was going to happen with the information. But then I heard from her right before Labor Day saying, "Oh, the article is coming out in New York Magazine over Labor Day." And I remember thinking, Labor Day, nobody's ever going to read it on Labor Day. But it came out, and it was this blurb, and I'll show it to you,
Yes,
right?
show me. I want to see
Okay,
I
so
love
here's
that
what
you
it was.
kept the cover and the whole thing. This was during the How Design Live. I was in the audience watching your presentation, and you showed this, and I was like, "What? How did I not know this? I love it." So here's the
Right. So
cover.
right. And so she was writing an article about how to get people to help you do things you don't want to do for yourself, basically.
Uh-huh.
And organizing was just one of several things that were included there. So that was the cover. And then this is just one of the pages, and you can see my little blurb right there in the middle is just,
Mhm.
a little blurb of text amongst all the other people that she's highlighting. And I do remember some of these people. All right. And then here's my blurb, and I'll just read it. So, since 1985, Ilise Benun, with my address in Hoboken and my phone number, right? There was no email
Amazing.
at that time. There was no websites. Has specialized in helping actors, artists, writers, photographers, musicians, and other performers and small businesses promote their talents and skills and handle their organizing and paperwork chores. She works out marketing and promotional strategies, sends mailing, gets in touch with agencies and production companies. She keeps personal databases for her clients in her computer. She's like a business manager who doesn't take a percentage. Just terrific, said one client. I don't remember who that was. She charges $20 to $25 an hour, depending on the project. There's a 4-hour minimum. So,
I
people called me starting on Labor Day right, for 10 years. And the reason is because they were totally disorganized. And this piece of paper, this magazine, kept getting stuck and buried at the bottom of everybody's piles. And then they would come across it and they would find it like, oh, I wonder if this person still does it. And so literally this piece of PR
Mhm.
exploded my business and allowed me to quit all of the part-time jobs that I had had up until then and really go self-employed full-time.
Wow. I mean there's so many aspects of this that I absolutely love. Number 1 is that you had such a clear niche, right? It was very specific how you stood out, how you were working specifically with creatives even all the way back then, right?
Mhm.
And you can unshare the screen. How you
Okay.
also um how you were one example in a larger article. So that's another
Mhm.
thing. Sometimes people say, "Oh, I'll never get featured. What will they need from me?" But you were just one
Right.
example in a larger article, which is also terrific.
Yeah.
And this one media hit helped you for 10 years. That's
Yes.
incredible. I don't know that I've ever met anybody who has had that much
That's funny.
success from one tiny little
Yeah.
blurb in a magazine.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my
And
gosh.
it really just kind of fell into my lap. So if the question is, how can someone, manufacture something like this, or how can they promote themselves into this kind of opportunity, because now 31 years later a lot of it is different, right? There are
Mhm.
websites, the magazine is different now,
Sure.
and so I think that's an interesting question also, is how do we put ourselves in a position with content, for example, and content marketing, which is something I'm a huge fan of and promoter of, and a content machine myself. And how
That's
do
right.
we get our content in the right place, or use our content to connect with the right people so that we can go where we want to go and find the clients we want to find, and stop taking whatever comes along, which is word of mouth.
Yes, exactly. And the other part too, we were talking about this before, is that people think, oh, PR is not for me. I don't really need it. But this is a great example of just, I mean, it really just sort of fell in, and you did need it. It did boost your business.
Hmm.
Wow. I love this story. So great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share it, reshare it with me, make me all excited about it. And also it's great inspiration for people to see how, one media mention at any point, I mean, this was years ago, but at any point could really, really boost your business big time. So tell me just one last thing, just about your website and your newsletter, because you have so much great content, and your podcasts.
Thank you. So the hub of it all is marketing-mentor.com, and that's where you can find my podcast, which is also at marketingmentorpodcast.com. And I do have my quick tips from Marketing Mentor, which is my email newsletter, which is where I share the most current thinking.
Perfect. But no more organizing, no more professional organizing. So don't
No
email
more
her for that.
organizing. Exactly. No, I don't do that anymore.
I love it. Well, thank you, Ilise.
Of course. Thank you, Paula.
And if you want the media to pay attention to you, you've got to know what they want, right? Well, I've got you covered. Go to paularizzo.com/checklist and you can download my free checklist on how to become a go-to media expert. That's paularizzo.com/checklist.